So there's two ways to access Visual or Vpython through a browser without having to install anything. One of them is glowscript.org and one of them is trinket.io. I'm going to use Trinket in this case. I think it is nice for making the text show large so that you guys can see it on your screen okay. So when you go to trinket.io, you have to sign in or make an account. I've already made one. So in this case, I would like to make a new trinket. And so I'm going to go over here, new trinket. And then I'm going to pick glowscript. So actually what happens is Trinket runs glowscript inside of it. So it's kind of like you're still using glowscript wrapped in a trinket, if that makes any sense. So I'm going to go over here, and now we have the option of doing Python or in blocks. We're going to be doing Python. And you'll notice that the first line here, if you can see that, maybe I'll make the text a little bit larger. So the first line says glowscript 2.9 Vpython. And so sometimes that 2.9 is a different number. But that's going to be the first line. The second line, print hello world, I guess that's always the traditional, the very first program you write in a programming language is to do something and print hello world. And you'll see on the right, yeah, it prints hello world. So in fact, if you'd have to type that out. But we're going to do something better because this is Visual Python and we're going to do some cool graphic stuff. So we're going to make our hello world is going to be making a sphere, a three-dimensional sphere. And really the best way to do this is start up trinket.io, make an account, hit pause if you need to, and then run the video and try some of these things at the same time. So I'm going to make a sphere. So I'm going to go like this, sphere, and then put two parentheses. The two parentheses like that is whenever we're having kind of making a function or doing something that's built into the program, we can put things inside the parentheses to change it. But if we just put those two parentheses, it'll be the default. So here I'll press run and we get a white sphere. And if I go and move my mouse over by the sphere, now I'm using the right mouse button and I can turn it and you'll notice that the lighting of it changes. The other thing I can do is if I use the scroll wheel on my mouse, I can zoom in and out, or I can use, I think it's the control. And I can also, if I hold down the shift key and then use the mouse, the left mouse key, I can drag it around. So there has a little bit of ways to look at it after we've made it. Okay, so I'm just going to mention I'll go over to just a couple little notes here. So the first thing that we did is we made an object. So if I go over here and I said, okay, there's gotta get rid of my keyboard for a second. So we just made an object. And what was that object? It was something called a sphere. And I'll even go like that just to remind us. There's lots of different objects, and we'll take a look at different objects that we can make. The other two things that I needed to remember to talk about is that you can give names to objects, and that also objects have attributes. Okay, so how about let's think of what's a good name that we can make for our sphere. Let's call our sphere ball. Okay, so if we go back over here, the reason why it's good to give it a name is that if, say, later on in our program we wanted to change something about the sphere, we can only change it. We can only change the attributes if we've given it a name. So over here, I'm just going to say, okay, in line number 2, I'll say ball equals sphere. And if I run it, I think it's going to just look like the same thing. It's going to make a sphere. Okay, so now if I go to glowscript.org, even though we're not using it, we're using Trinket, there's a help feature over here. So I'm going to click on that help feature. In fact, this is what comes up here. Oh, I think this is what comes up first. And there is a nice introduction over here. And there's also some pull down menus about 3D objects. Choose a 3D object. So I'm going to go over to where it says sphere. And I'm going to find out some of the different things that we can do with a sphere. Look at their example. They have ball equals sphere. Oh, hold on. They have ball equals sphere, and then they have some stuff inside the parentheses now. In fact, I'm just going to go like this and copy it with a Control-C, just because I'm kind of a lazy typist. And I will delete the stuff that I had there, and I'll hit paste. and maybe just make it look a little bit nicer by getting rid of some of those spaces. Okay, so what do they have now? They have ball, so that's the name of this object called sphere. And inside the sphere, they said POS equals vector 121, radius equals 0.5. POS stands for position. So it's going to put this position. In fact, I'm going to change that last one to a 0. Okay, so the first value, that 1, is the X position. The second one is the Y position. And the last one is in the Z position. If I just go over here to the introduction, they have it just on the right-hand side. You see a little picture there? X is kind of left and right. Y is up and down on the screen, so that makes sense. Z is like coming out or going into your screen. It's like the dimension that we can't do very well, which it's kind of cool that Python can do it for us. So I'm just going to, for most of the beginning of this course, I'm going to leave the Z as 0, so it's going to sort of be a flat plane, just to make things a little bit easier. So in this case, we're going to have a ball that's going to be a little to the right, a little up, and the radius, I think the default is 1. Now the radius is going to be 0.5. So let's run that. Hey, that's pretty cool. Let's try making another ball. So I'm going to make another ball. I'm going to call this one ball 2 equals, and I'll make it another sphere. Maybe I'll just copy that stuff and then change things that I like about it. Maybe instead of having it at 1, I'll put it at -2. And then at 1. 0, and the radius I'll put as 1. Try running that. Oh, I got an error. It says too many right parentheses on line 3. So if I look over here, I got a left, a right. Oh yeah, I have 3 of them. So I'll delete one. And you'll notice actually when you type it, I don't know if you can see right over here, it kind of reminds you of like this right parentheses closes that left parenthesis, so now we're good. Okay, so we'll run this one. Hey, 2 balls. What else could we do? I'm going to go back to the help and look under choose a 3D object and go look at a sphere and some other things that we can change. I think it's cool is the color. All right, so there's a number of colors. Work with 3D objects. Colors. Oh, there's color. There's some built-in colors. So one way to do a color is to give it a red value, a green value, and a blue value, RGB. And those are all between 0 and 1, or they have some built-in colors that they've defined. Red, green, blue, purple. Okay, let's do one of those. So I'm going to pick orange and green maybe. So this one over here. Now, to use another attribute inside of there, I'm going to say comma, color equals. And I'll notice that we don't put a U in color. Color equals color dot, what did I say, orange? Okay, and I think I need a right parentheses to go with that. Let's, oh, no, I don't think I do. Okay, now I'll hit run. That one turned yellow, or turned orange. How about for ball 2, I'm going to show you how to change the ball attribute later on in the program. So now I'm going to say ball 2. And the attribute that I want to change is color. So I'm using that period now. So that means the object ball 2, its new color is going to be equal to color.green. So the name of the color is color.green. I think this is going to work. Let's try it out. Yeah, it seemed to work. Okay. All right. So that's just a few ideas here. If I look under help and if I look under 3D object, there's a lot of different objects. Here's an idea. Instead of making initials right now, let's just do something a little bit simpler. Let's make a square. Let's make a fancy little square using arrows. So I'm just going to erase this here and say, okay, I think it'd be best to plan this by drawing out. Okay, let's say this is our x-axis, and then this is our y-axis. And if you're going to do your initials, this is a good idea of how to start. But if I'm just going to make arrows, let's say if I make a first arrow goes this way. Okay, so let's go see. How do you make an arrow? I'm going to go over here, choose a 3D object, an arrow. Okay, so the way an arrow works is, let me see, it says pointers, that's the name that they give. The arrow is the object. That's it's a built-in object in Visual Python. The position equals vector 0, 2, 1, axis equals, and then if you want, you can change the width of it, how thick it is. So the position is where it starts, and an axis is like how far it goes in which direction. So in this example, you'll notice that the axis is 5 in the x direction, 0 in the y, and 0 in the z. So 5, since it's positive, it's to the right. So that's why that arrow points to the right. Actually, you know what? Let me just copy that one first, and let's just see what it looks like. So I'm going to copy this. Control C and go back to Trinket. Let's put that one in there. It looks kind of long. I'm going to change the formatting a little bit here, so maybe we'll see a bit more of it. Okay. Now we're going to run. All right, so one thing that you'll notice is that it seemed like one of the balls disappeared, but I'm going to use my do the roll rotate. It's like, no, it was just behind there. And okay, so that looks kind of neat. The other thing that you may notice when you're playing with this is that the browser window automatically scales. So if you make an object that's really, really big, it'll just make it to fill the screen. Like they try to just make it things to fill the screen. So if it's really, really tiny, it might look the same size if there's nothing else on the screen. Okay, so I want to make my pointer look different, however. So let me see now. If I want that arrow over there, so this spot over here is going to be the position. So this spot here, that's going to be the position. So I'm going to say position is going to be equal to, and now I need to say vector. And I can actually do just VEC if I want instead of VECTOR. And what is that spot? It looks to me like the x direction, and the x will be -2, and the y will be +2, and then the z I'm just going to keep a 0. Okay, and then how far does it go? Well, it goes to the right 4. So in other words, the axis is like, which way does it go? Axis is going to be equal to, axis equals a vector. I'll just do VEC this time. X goes in the 4 to the right, 0, 0. All right, let's try that. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to change this. I'm going to say position no longer is that. It's going to be -2, comma 2, comma 0. Axis was 4. And then 0, 0. And you know what? What if I just do the default? Because that one seems kind of thick as an arrow. So if I just do that, let's see if I run it. Okay, that looks pretty good. It seems to me that those balls are in the way of what I want to do. So here's a cool thing you can do. You can just put like the pound symbol or the hashtag in front of things, and then it'll ignore. So I'm just going to put one there, one here, and one here. And now when I run it, it's like, please ignore this. And we use that for comments all the time. So in fact, I can go like this and be like, our first program, you know, and I could say, bye. This is a good habit to get into. Bye, Greg Spicer. And it could put the date if I wanted to too. Okay, so there's my first arrow. Now, if I wanted to do another arrow that was close on the bottom, let me think. I want to recopy what was in line 9 and just make a copy below it. And I know there is a keyboard shortcut, so I'm just going to look in the top. I had a place Alt Shift down. Okay, this is a pro tip here. I'm going to hit the Alt key and then the Shift key and then the down arrow, and it just does a copy of that line. That was kind of neat. I need to give it a new name because it's not going to be the same one. So I'll call this one pointer 2. And this one, that spot will be, well, let me think. I think that spot will be 2, 2. Yeah, 2, 2, 0. Okay, so the second one I'm making, heck, let's make it red. So this, I guess this one now. So that's going to start at 2, 2, 0. And the axis part is going to be, it's not going to be going in the x direction, it's going to be going down. So that's negative in the y direction. So the axis will be 0 in the x direction, -4 in the y direction, 0 in the y direction. 0 in the z direction at the end. Okay, so let me see if I can get that. So I'm going back over here, +2, and then this one would be 0, -4, 0, and heck, let's give that color. I'm going to say color, comma. That's the thing, you know, it's getting all the syntax, getting like every comma in the right place, that can be excruciatingly difficult. So that's part about learning to code, is just like that, fighting through all those little, I'm getting to the same error, I don't know what it is, and trying to figure it out. And I've been there. Okay, so I'm gonna make this one red. Okay, so we got a white one and a red one. Now we could finish this with arrows, but I think we got those two nailed. I'm going to show you one of my favorite ones here. Oh, well, there's my help. One of my favorite objects is work with 3D objects. Is the top one is the helix. Boom. Okay, so helix looks like a spring. Okay, so again, let me just copy this thing out here. Copy that one and pop it in here so we can take a look at it. Hit enter, so I get a new line, and then I'm going to paste it in there, and let's just, I don't know, let's run it as it is. Okay, it shows up way over there and looks kind of weird. Okay, it's the same idea. Position is where it starts. So in this case, it's starting at 0, 2, 1. So notice that Z direction is 1, which is Y sort of like in front of the other ones, on top of, right? And then the axis, it goes 5 to the right. And then its radius is 0.5. I'm going to try something. I want to make the radius big. So what if I make the radius like 2? Just make it really thick. What happens here? Run. Oh, that's not really. Thickness isn't radius. Okay. I liked it better before as 0.5. So I'm going to say 0.5. Let's go back to the help. Oh yeah, thickness is what I want. Thickness is the diameter of the cross section. Okay, so thickness is what I want to make larger. So let's put it again. Thickness equals, I don't know, let's say 2. This could be crazy. Oh, okay, too big. Okay, let me say 0.3. So it's not as much as the, yeah. Oh yeah, that's nice thick. I like that. Sort of chunky, right? Okay, but we got to get it in the right spot. So we want it to start where that arrow left off, and we want it to go back that way. So in other words, the position, you know what, maybe more screen, there we go. Okay, more text area. Another neat thing about this, just a little pro tip maybe, is that sometimes Python can be very picky about spaces and things like that. But here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say, okay, spring is equal to a helix, and then I'm going to hit an enter here, and then just put like a little tab there, where the position is this, the axis is this, the radius is that, the thickness is that. Okay, so it's like spring, that's the name of the object, in which is a helix, and then there's a left parentheses, and then all the different attributes separated by a comma at the end, and then you have to have a right parentheses at the end. So this is kind of an easy way to look at it. I like it better than all having it on one line. Okay, comma, and then what did we say? Oh yeah, we wanted to change. I don't want to add another attribute. What we want to do is change the stuff. Okay, so the position of this last one should start at, what is that spot? Okay, so we're doing a helix. Maybe it'll be a green helix, and we're going like this. This spot over here is going to be 2, -2, 0. And the axis, it's moving to the left. So it's going to be -4, not up and down at all, and nothing in the Z. So I think the first part will be, the position will be 2, -2, 0. And then the axis will be -4, 0, 0. Okay, so we go over here. 2, -2, 0. And then the axis is -4, -4, 0, 0. And let's keep the other stuff the same. All right, and then we'll give ourselves some more room. We'll run this. Hey, isn't that lovely? Okay. What's a neat shape to do next? Because we got one left, right? Work with 3D objects. Choose a 3D object. That's what we want. Okay. You know what? I'm gonna go to the box because the box is different than what we've done so far. Up until now, we've had the position is where the object starts, and then axis is like where it sort of moves from there. Box is a little bit different because when you say position, it's not one end of the box; it's the middle of the box. So it's a little bit different. Like it says, if you can read this, it says the given position is in the center of the box at 0, at X, Y, and Z, so whatever that is. Okay, and then you can either use size or axis. So let's just think about this. Let's do one with position and size. Okay, so going back to my drawing board. So I'm going to imagine having a box. Here, I'm just going to flip my keyboard over so I can write better. Okay, so if I have a box that's, I don't know, the box is like this. I don't know why I make those noises. Okay, so there's the box. The middle of the box will be right about there. So the position is going to be equal to vector. That spot is going to be at -2 in the X, 0 in the Y, and 0. Okay, and what about the size? Size is going to be equal to, and I think, again, it's vector. How big will it be in the X direction? I think just 1. Like this is like, you know, how big is it this way? I think just 1. We could make it bigger or smaller, but I think 1 would be good. How big is it in the Y direction? I think 4. Here, let me erase some of this stuff so we can see better. Okay. How big will it be in the Z direction? Oh, heck, let's give it 1 too, so it has like a bit of a 3-dimensional effect to it. Okay, so that's what we'll do. I'm just flipping my keyboard back so I can type. So position. Oh, okay. What should I give for a name for my box? So I can't use the name box for box because the box is the object. So I'll say I don't know. Do they have one over here in the my box? Okay, cool. Let's try my box. Okay, we'll say my. Oh, and by the way, you can also do underscores. That's kind of cool. My underscore box. Let's do that. Equals. It's a box, and the position is equal to, and this thing is a vector. I'll just use vec, and the position we said was, now I forget. Position was -2, comma 0, comma 0, comma. Then the size. In the X direction, we said 1. In the Y direction, the vertical direction, 4. And the Z direction, we're going to make 1. Oh, and color. Color. Oh. Let's do a new line for color. Color equals color dot gray. Okay. And let's try that one. Oh, we got an error here. Size is not defined. Okay, I had a problem with the way I did size. If I go, and I think I know what it is, but I'll look back at the help. So when they say size, size is a vector. So how do you know it's like, what is a vector? And that's gonna actually, it's kind of cool because it comes in with physics. It's a vector right now. We can say is if it needs an x and a y and a z, then it's a vector. If it's just a regular number, like you know, how long is the box? It's 4. You wouldn't say how long is it 4, 3, 2. So a vector requires an x and a y and a z, and size does because we need to give it a length, a height, and a width. And the length in this case means what's the size in the x direction, what's the size in the y direction, and what's the size in the z direction. So I think the mistake that I made was size equals vector, and again I can say VEC or VECTOR. Okay, so now I'll say run. Oh, property color must be a vector. I screwed up there too. So if I go over here and I'm going to say work with, and I check out the colors, there might be a big outcry that if gray is not a color. Color equals color dot gray 0.5. Oh, you know, it's not really up there, is it? Let me pick a different one. Let me say color equals color dot purple. Let's see what that looks. I keep doing that wrong. Color equals color dot purple. There we go. Okay, and so we have a box to finish it off. Now, just before I let you go, I just want to. I notice here that the box kind of butts into the arrow. Here, let me just see if I can make this bigger so we can see it a bit better, and be like, hey, you know, those two objects are like going into each other. Like, what's going on if we go kind of close to that? All right, you can see that, hey, it's shiny on the edge too. That's kind of cool. Just like over here it happened, but we didn't care so much, right? And over here it's happening a little bit too. So here's something I like to do sometimes when I want to notice like what's in there, is I can change the opacity. So I'm going to go on this one. It's another attribute. So I'm going to add this one. I'm going to say over here, opacity, which means like how transparent it is. And so often, instead of going like 1 to 100, in Python, it's between 0 and 1. In fact, in coding altogether. So 0 would be like completely transparent. 1 would be like it is now, completely solid. So I'm going to say opacity equals 0.4. So it's like fairly see-through. Let's just see how this works. Hopefully I didn't do a typo. Oh, I did do. Opacity, oh, expected a comma. Oh yeah, I forgot. After this one, I have to separate things by commas. Let's do it again. Okay, so now we can kind of see it, that where they overlap. And we can almost see through that purple because it's very, very clear. Okay, hey, but here's something that's neat just before we go. And so I'm going to call this thing spies are square, because I'm kind of square. Hey, save. And here's neat. After you've saved something, you can actually share it. So you can use a link or an email or something like this. So if I pick the link and here's the link, and show code side by side, or if I go only show code or output, that's probably a good one. If maybe the person that you're going to send it to is going to look on it on their phone, that's a good way to do it. And then you can just copy this and then email it or text it or whatever, and this will actually show up on their phone, and it's kind of cool. So I think that's a nice feature. All right, so this has been kind of a long one, and I think this is part of you're now going to try to make your initials. So have fun with this, and you'll probably get stuck a few times, and hopefully you'll figure it all out. All right, take care.